it's always like the most awkwardest thing when it says you're live, and I don't know if like when that pops up on the screen where like it's like I'm actually live when it says that, or if it's just saying like you're about to go live in like X amount of seconds. So that's why I'm just like sitting there staring at the screen, not knowing what I'm doing. Hi, Madison. I am finally gonna talk about why I think Rapunzel's the actual villain in Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. I was supposed to talk about this last month, but like with as hyped about the show as I was kind of like prolonging writing the script for this video. Well, I guess it kind of is like an episode per se, because I said this is like part of a series. And so like this series consists of watch me fangirl over or whatever. What was the first episode called? Close. What was the first episode of the series called? It was called Fangirl with Me Over Rapunzel's Single Adventure, and then the second episode was called Is Rapunzel the Actual Villain with Varian in the thumbnail. And now it's Cassandra in the thumbnail because tell me why two of Rapunzel's friends turned evil. That can't be a coincidence. It literally cannot be a coincidence. Varian went to Rapunzel to ask for help, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. And each time Rapunzel was like, I promise I'll help you, but something. But something. He's a literal child and he's asking you for help. What are we doing? What are we doing? But also, like, since wanting to like talk about how I think Rapunzel's a villain, like part two of like her and Cassandra, I have watched like video essays saying like why Rapunzel isn't the villain and how like Cassandra's literally like, oh woe is me. Like I learned that I like suppressed memories of my actual mother, and then like the dad, the captain of the guards literally raised you in a loving and supportive home. And yet you're like, woe is me. I have it so hard. Like I see both sides. Like I see like if I feel like Cassandra would have been so much of a better villain if they focused on her not wanting to be second best to Rapunzel. Because like yes, Mother Gothel chose Rapunzel over Cassandra, but why are we blaming Rapunzel for something that she has no control over? Like she didn't say, "Oh, Mother Gothel, please take me from my family. Please take me from." Like she didn't say that. Like why are we blaming Rapunzel for this? So like I kind of see like both sides of the coin where like Cassandra's kind of justified because she does always come second best to Rapunzel, but then again, like why are we like I feel like there's two different points of Cassandra being evil. Cause like I said, there's a oh, I always come second best to Rapunzel, and then there's also the what's it called? The part where like she's blaming Rapunzel for actions that she has no control over when Mother Gothel is the one that like what happened to both of them. I also want to preface saying that anybody who ships Rapunzel and Cassandra is sick in the head because they're essentially sisters. Why are we shipping Rapunzel with Cassandra? Rapunzel's as straight as a stick. As straight as a stick. Cassandra, on the other hand, is a sapphic woman through and through. I even read through her Wikipedia page, and it literally was like she's created after a sapphic woman. Like this is what I needed as a confirmation that like she's a 100% a sapphic woman. Like there's no way you look at Cassandra, especially when she has her blue hair, like, oh yeah, that woman's straight. No. No. Sorry, no. um since I'm like meant to record this video, I have also come up with another video idea for like my next series. So like after this video, I have a plan to watch Tangled, kind of compare the Tangled movie to, like, the Tangled TV show, and then also compare Tangled to Frozen because Tangled is 100% better and serves so much more deserves so much more than it's giving credit for, but at the same time, I kinda wanna hide the show Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure because I don't want everybody to know about it because it's such a good show. Um, I had a screenshot I wanted to show you guys, but I can't find it. It was, like, confirmation that Cassandra's a sapphic woman. Um And then so basically after this Tangled series, I'm gonna go into a Winx Club series because I have seen lots of information about Winx Club, especially the reboot, and I kind of want to talk about that. But like I haven't seen the show and I don't have intentions to watch the show. I just have a notes called um what's it called? What's it called? What did I call it? Like, I have tons of, like, notes about oh, no, it's called "This reboot makes no sense." That's literally what my Winx Club notes is called. This reboot makes no sense. I'm not gonna spoil what I said in that notes app, but it's there. Alright, so now I've rambled on it enough about the future for this channel. I love that I have 2 series coming up. I really hope that, like the plan is to post, like, at least twice a month, because me last year, that 4 times a month upload was ambitious. But at least for me. So basically, why I think Rapunzel is a villain and Cass and Varian are justified villains. If you don't know that this is part of a series, I have a previous episode also called why I think Rapunzel is a villain is called part 1, and this is part 2. Part 1 talks about Varian, and part 2 will talk about Cassandra, hence the thumbnails. Um, Bye, Madison! And so I'm just gonna start backwards with like Cassandra's backstory and how I have to like I kind of already talked a little bit about it, but I just wanted to work backwards and start with I already said that because it will help understand why she did what she did as an adult and why I think Rapunzel is always part, if not the problem between the two and why she might actually be the real problem over Cassandra. And like I said, I've also seen like video essays about this and how people think that like Rapunzel isn't the villain. But I also want to say I think Rapunzel from the TV show is 100% different than Rapunzel from the movie. And Rapunzel in the movie is like she's still optimistically different things, and I don't really like how they portray Rapunzel in the TV show compared to the movie. That's why I think the movie is far superior. But but in the TV show we have Cassandra, and so like I feel like I kind of had to give props to the show because it has Cass in it. Um, so we know the setup to Tangled was Gothel kidnapping Rapunzel for her magic hair so she could maintain that magic that was making her youthful. And we see in the beginning of Entangled how there's a magical flower where if you sing to it, you become youthful. And Gothel sees the guards trying to come find the flower so we can save Queen Ariana. Because Queen Ariana is having a difficult time being pregnant or she got sick while she was pregnant. And so that flower got taken and after Mother Gothel tried covering it. She was horrible at covering the flower. After she tried covering the flower, the guards found it and they took it and they gave it to Queen Ariana so she can have Rapunzel. Um, and then as we see the season 3 premiere of Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, we see the flashback how at the end of season 2 we see Cass go into this door, and then when she comes out this door, she's kind of like mad at Rapunzel and she's like, "Yeah, everything's fine." And we don't learn what happens in that door until the season 3 premiere. And in that season 3 premiere, we see how Gothel has Cassandra as a daughter, and as we see these like moments where like she's just a pest. Like Cassandra, like yes, Gothel is her mother, but we see Cassandra as a pest to Gothel and how she didn't really truly love her. She just saw her as more of, like, a means to an end. So, like, Gothel was gonna go back to her cabin to, like, hide out after she took Rapunzel, but then she saw the guards, and she cut the bridge, and then Cassandra was like, "Mommy!" And then the captain of the guards was like, "I'll take you in. You'll become my daughter. I'll raise you with the life you deserve." And yeah, that's kind of like I mean, there's also this episode where I told the tale of two sisters where we see like another flashback of Cassandra as a child and Gothel in the picture where um we see this supposed happy memory between Gothel and Cassandra where we think that's the only happy memory they had together, but there's this piece that's missing that the big bad took, and it's hiding like the truth behind the happy memory. Thank you to the thumbs up, whoever gave that to me. Um, so the like happy memory is it breaks apart. A Tale of Two Sisters is like the episode we see where Cassandra and Rapunzel are kind of being back to friends a little bit. And we see how Cassandra calls Rapunzel Raps again. And then the Rapunzel was like, oh, did you just call me Raps again? And she's like, don't make too much of a big deal about it. But we see in this all over the place. We see in this little backstory that um, Mother Gothel gives Cassandra this music box. And in this music box, or we see like, oh, Mother Gothel is like actually being a mother and like loves Cassandra, and then like we see the true memory was like, hopefully this will keep her busy and out of my hair. Like, be for real here. And I also like made a comment about like how I kind of thought that like it was obvious that Cassandra was Mother Gothel's daughter from the start. It was very evident. Like, you're telling me that this woman has dark brown or black hair or whatever, and like it's literally the embodiment of Mother Gothel. Like, you're like, I get that like if you were a child, like you wouldn't have seen this twist coming, but like as an adult and probably as someone that was like a teenager, you would have 100% seen that like Mother Gothel was Cassandra's mother. And that essentially like makes Cassandra and Rapunzel like adoptive sisters. They're like 4 years apart. Like we know Cassandra's older than Rapunzel because as we see in the flashback, like Cassandra's like a full-on child while Rapunzel's a baby. So like I kind of see them like as like adopted sisters. Like I said, if you ship them together, you're sick in the head because they're like they are adopted sisters. Like, what are we doing? Um we also see the hurt she went through living through the abandonment of her mother, of the abandonment her mother put her through by leaving her for another child hurt like hell. But with Cass learning about who her mother was and coming second best to Rapunzel for the first time, she sees, or we see that that led her to be the villain she is in the third season. And so this is kind of like the first moment where we see Cassandra see herself as second best to Rapunzel, because Gothel had a child and then she took Rapunzel. And I feel like this would have been a better way to go as Cassandra being the villain than like, "Oh, woe is me, like, I Mother Gothel's not here for me to blame, so, like, I'm blaming you for her taking you." Be for real. I feel like the second best would have been such a better story than what we were given. Like, it was, like, 2 different sides of the coin of, like, Cassandra being evil. Why? I don't know. But with Cass learning about who her mother was and becoming second best to Rapunzel, or no, I already read that. Cassandra was seen as Rapunzel's lady in waiting for the first season, but will risk her job and fight the rules that were given to her to allow Rapunzel more freedom than her parents were giving her, more likely her dad. So in the pilot movie, it's the pilot movie. It's like essentially the first episode we see for the show. So in the pilot movie, we see King Frederick try to restrain Rapunzel in the castle after my girl was locked up for 18 years in the castle. You think the best way to protect her is keeping her locked up in another tower? Bro, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And so Cass is like really willing to risk her job to like show Rapunzel like the adventurous side and like what she can do beyond the walls of Corona. And as Cass risks her life to become or to help Rapunzel, we see like Rapunzel get her hair back. Like she no longer has the brown hair. And they go see the black rocks and like where the flower was. And when Rapunzel touches a black rock, she gets her hair back. And we see Cass like, I trust you, but I don't, and I love that you trust Eugene, but I don't trust him, and we're not going to tell him your hair is back. How are we going to hide 80 feet of hair from not only her boyfriend, but the whole fucking kingdom? What are we doing? And then she tells Eugene, and then Cass is still like, you can't tell him how we got the hair back. Like because if you tell him how, I lose my job. Which essentially later in the season, she kind of does lose her job, but then she kind of earns it back. But that's like Cassandra being Rapunzel's lady in waiting is like, it's kind of the first time we see Cassandra come second to Rapunzel. But like as we watch the series, we see like the first time Cassandra actually becomes second to Rapunzel is like when Mother Gothel takes Rapunzel and abandons Cassandra. So like that's the first time she becomes second best to Rapunzel, but the first time we see is like when Cass becomes her lady in waiting. And then throughout the first two seasons, we see several moments where Cass and Rapunzel go head to head. One of the moments or like not one of the like we see more head to head moments as we're on the road to the Black Rocks in season 2 and the Dark Kingdom. But I feel like it's not necessarily a head to head moment, but we see like when Jonathan comes into the picture, he is this like we thought he was this one episode person, but then he gets brought back in the season 3 premiere of for whatever. Like and then we see like Cassandra trusts her intuition and she knows Jonathan's up to no good. And we see Rapunzel being annoyingly optimistic and like, oh come on, Cassandra, like you could tell me if you like a guy. Like you could totally like Cassandra's like I said, 100% a sapphic woman, but she knows how to flirt with the guy. Like I feel like that's the best way to go. Like if some guy's being like obnoxiously annoying to you, flirt your way off with him. But you can still be a sapphic woman. Love that for Cassandra. But like I said, we see Rapunzel being annoyingly optimistic and like pushing for Cassandra to like tell her like, oh yeah, like I know you're sneaking around with some guy, but like you should tell me more details. And Cassandra's like, I will tell you when I'm ready. And Rapunzel does not respect that boundary. And like I don't think that's like toxic behavior. I just think Rapunzel needs to learn when somebody tells her no, she needs to listen. But then you could also play that off as, like, when her mother told her no, she kind of, like, went into it. Like, she never fought back on it. And so we kinda see her kind of fighting back on the no's in the show, but, like, she still pushes a little too hard. And I will talk about this later, but I kinda think, like, Rapunzel and Cassandra were, like, perfect to be friends because like, Rapunzel grew up isolated in this tower where she had no friends, but she's annoyingly optimistic and positive. But then we see the complete opposite in Cassandra, where I don't think there were other children in the castle, so, like, she kinda grew up isolated, not like Rapunzel's level of isolation, but, like, she wasn't creating friends, and so, like, we see both of these people that don't know how to create friends, and so Rapunzel's like, "I guess I could be more positive and optimistic," and I guess Rapunzel's like, "I guess I can learn when to respect people's no's and when they draw those boundary lines." But after okay, so we see um throughout season 2, we see episode after episode, especially in the second half of season 2, where their friendship is drifting. And like I feel like the first half of season 2, we like see Rapunzel and Cassandra still like they're still best of friends. They will still do anything for each other, but I feel like once they go to that great tree to like they have to get through that great tree to go to the Dark Kingdom to go fight the big bad and then go find why the rocks are leading Rapunzel this way. I feel like once they get to that big tree and like the more Adira starts popping up everywhere, we see Cass has finally met her match where because like I feel like Eugene met his match in Cassandra where like he thought that he was this like annoyingly egotistical person and then like Cassandra kind of puts him in his place. But then when Cassandra like we see Adira and Cassandra, I feel like Adira kind of puts Cass into her place a little bit. But I also could see like why Cass is like annoyed at Rapunzel and how she's trusting Adira more than Cass. And but then you see the part where Adira knows what she's doing because she's been in this place before. But then she's hiding the truth, and Cass knows she's being suspicious because she's trusting her gut intuition, like she did with Jonathan. And she finds Adira suspicious, and like Rapunzel shouldn't be optimistically, annoyingly, positively trusting Adira. So like I said, I see like 50-50. Like I see Rapunzel's point of view and I see Cassandra's point of view. And I feel like that's like the best way to go where I'm not like blinded by my love for Cassandra or I'm not blinded by my hatred for Rapunzel. And as we get to like the mid-season finale, we see Cassandra advise Rapunzel not to use the incantation spell um leading so this incantation spell is like a dark one where it's wither and decay, not heal what once was mine. And we see the first time Rapunzel uses it, she can't control it. And Adira has to knock her down into the water to kind of snap her out of it. And the second time Rapunzel uses this, we see Cass tries like grabbing her arm while she's just still doing the incantation and burns her arm. Like, Cassandra told you not to do that incantation. And what do you do? What do you do? Why do you use the incantation? But then I also see Rapunzel's point of view where like she told Cass to leave. So like Cassandra getting her arm burned was like kind of like her fault, but like also why haven't you been trusting Cassandra? Why? Why? Or this episode shouldn't be called Why I Think Rapunzel is a Villain. It should be like um it should be I see both points of view, which is essentially what this is because like I could see Rapunzel, like I said, what it's not a coincidence that two of her friends turn evil. But then also like Cass is just being petty and it's not a very good villain. But okay, so Adira is this new person brought in this season, seems to earn trust from Rapunzel rather quickly, which unintentionally leads to dismissing Cass's concern. In season 3, after Cass' betrayal, we see her friends, or after Cass betrays her friends, we see the villain that was teased in the first 2 seasons come to fruition and manipulate Cass and guide her anger into attacking her friends, diminishing her weak spots every time one pops up. So the season 3 premiere is kind of like the first episode is split into half. And so when I say half, I mean the first part of episode 1 of season 3, we see the aftermath of like why Cass became evil, why she said it was her destiny, why she said I told you to be careful who you trust, Rapunzel. Like we see the whole backstory of like how she is Mother Gothel's daughter and how Mother Gothel abandoned her. But then the second half of the season 3 premiere, episode 1, we also see um them go back to Corona and how Varian overtook Corona and like made the king and queen forget like everything. And so as episodes go on, we don't really see Cass in like a full episode until like mid-season. Like she's diminished unless there's a backstory, like how Rapunzel and Cass became friends. Like we don't really see Cass in like a main episode until the mid-season. She's diminished to end credits or before the credits. Like the end of the episode, she gets like 2 minutes of screen time. I love Cassandra. I loved Cassandra more in season 1 than I did in season 2 because Lady in Waiting Cassandra, where she's like fighting back on like, I can be a lady in waiting, but I can also fight for myself. Season 1 Cassandra will always be the best Cassandra variant in my version. Season 1 Cassandra will always be my favorite version of Cassandra. And I feel like I love the Lady in Waiting look, but I also love her look in season 3. And so I feel like it goes like I love the version of Cassandra in season 1, but I feel like her best look is in season 3. In my opinion. In my opinion. But then like I was talking about like her gut intuition where like she knew Adira was suspicious. She knew Jonathan was suspicious. So why is she trusting herself? Why is she trusting the big bad to guide her through this? Why does she not suspect she's being manipulated? Why? And then people are like, "Oh, Cassandra's like weaker. Like she always knew how to fight in hand to hand combat. Exactly, hand to hand combat." So like a reason why she was trusting the big bad was because she never had magic before. She has to learn how to control the magic and control the rocks. So I see that's part of the reason why she's trusting this big bad. So she can like have control over her powers because that's something she's never had before. But once again, why are we not trusting our gut intuition? Why are you falling blindly into trusting this big bad? This big bad. Cassie learns she is being manipulated and seeks redemption not only from Corona but from Rapunzel. But being fearful with how her friend might react, she disguises herself as a handmaiden, and the person that was manipulating Cass comes back and starts whispering things into Cass's ear and shows how bad Rapunzel is. So that was kind of like a lot to play into. But in the episode Once a Handmaiden, we see Cass learns the truth about that memory I was talking about, how where she gets a music box. We learned that the big bad took part of the memory, the and she only showed the good memory. And so with showing the good memory, we see Cassandra hate Rapunzel because Cassandra thinks that Rapunzel took the the one good happy memory she had from Gothel when she didn't even remember it. Bro blocked out all the trauma that Gothel gave her, and yet the mirror gave her back one happy memory that was not even a happy memory. What are we doing, Cassandra? I'm trying to defend you here. And what are we doing? Take a drink of water every time I say, "What are we doing?" And let me know in the comments down below. So, like I said, so we see like Cassandra sees the error in her ways and she wants to redeem herself with Rapunzel, but she feels Corona won't see redemption in her, so she has to disguise herself. And she disguises herself as Rapunzel's new handmaiden, Faith. And then we see moments in the episode where Cassandra's shining through. We have this gopher moment where the gopher's taking off the cloak from Cassandra, and like Cassandra's true self is shining through, but luckily Rapunzel and Eugene are like ignorant and don't even see it. And I believe Faith also calls Rapunzel Raps, which is a name that like only Cassandra called her. So like you're telling me Rapunzel was blindly leading into saving Cassandra, and she didn't even recognize her best friend. Like, oh yeah, only one person calls me this name, and Faith just did it. What are we doing? What are we doing? Two more times. Take two more drinks of water. But as the episode goes on, we see Faith and Rapunzel becoming more friends. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, Faith also has a little moment with Eugene where she makes a comment to Eugene. I don't remember what it was, but like it 100% had Cassandra Spitfire and not something Faith would say, which I loved. But it's like, how do we not pick up these moments where it's literally Cass? Literally Cass. You're telling me Tyler from the Vampire Diaries can pick up when Liz Forbes is in Liz Forbes, but yet Rapunzel can't pick up her best friend right in front of her, disguised. Like, there's always a moment where the villain just slips up with a minor detail, and Cassandra did it like 3 times, and Rapunzel didn't pick up on it once. And then, like, as the episode goes on, we see the big bad come in and, like, she's still whispering things to Cassandra and how Rapunzel just signed off on a weapon that will defeat Cassandra. And Cassandra's like, she wouldn't. Like, she's my best friend. Like, she wouldn't do that. And then, so then Cassandra goes to confront Rapunzel and, like, she's actually going to tell her, like, oh yeah, I'm Cassandra. Like, do you have a weapon that's gonna go against me? And then this big bad literally steps on the cloak and reveals it's Cassandra. And the whole entirety of Corona freaks out and, like, oh my god, she's evil. Like, let's get her. Which, like, I agree with because she was, like, threatening the whole kingdom. And then, like, Rapunzel tries reasoning with her, and then Kath, like, kind of listens for, like, a couple seconds, and then the freaking big bad has to hit the weapon that Varian's holding and makes Cass think that, like, Varian fired off on it even though he didn't. And then that leads Cassandra to knocking Rapunzel out and then overthrowing Corona. In the final battle, we see Cass and Rapunzel go head to head with each other, which is only a fight manipulated by the big bad who stole a moonstone, which Cassandra had, and the sun drop, which Rapunzel had. Cass sees the error in her ways and seeks redemption once more from Rapunzel, which leads to their final battle, to their final fight together, defeating the big bad. Cass then sets out to find her own destiny, but remains best friends with Rapunzel still. So, like, this big fight. So after the Once a Handmaiden, we kind of see that kick off to the final fight of Corona. And how that kind of leads into, like, this villain that they've been teasing for 3 seasons finally come to fruition. And so this big bad trying to manipulate Cassandra once again, even though Cassandra's have enough for BS. And she's like, I'll fight Rapunzel, but I've had enough of you. So I'm going to encapsulate you in black rocks. And then the big bad was like, ha ha ha, I knew you were going to flip on me. So I took a plan B and I escaped. But so, we see Cassandra and Rapunzel fight, and then Cassandra's like, you're forgetting who taught you how to fight. And she uses Rapunzel's strength against her, which, like, essentially, like, her hair. Like, you can literally step on Rapunzel's hair and that bitch will fall back. I'm trying to learn not to cuss on the channel anymore because I am gonna be a teacher. But, like, that's just part of who I am. That's part of who I am, and I'm not gonna diminish that. So, like, sometimes the words will slip out. Other times I'll, like, find a different word to use. But yeah. So you step on Rapunzel's hair, she'll fall back. And Rapunzel takes her power, like, takes the sun drop power, and then this big bad comes in and takes the moonstone power from Rapunzel. She uses them together, and she becomes the big bad that we have been teasing for 3 seasons. And then she encapsulates Rapunzel and Cassandra together. And we see Kaz truly be sorry for her actions. And she was like, I was just trying to find my way and I didn't want to be second best to you anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Bro, shut up. But then they, like, work together again. They work together for the last time. Cassandra and Rapunzel defeat the big bad. Cassandra loses her life, and then Rapunzel uses the moonstone and the sun drop to revive Cassandra. And why did Cassandra lose her life in the final battle, yet Rapunzel was right there helping her? Doing nothing. Like, Rapunzel didn't die at all. What are we doing? What are we doing? And then throughout the season, like, Cassandra's like, you want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the bad guy. She says that several times. Like mother, like daughter. Rapunzel had every right to be a villain. Didn't do it. Cassandra, what was me? My mother abandoned me when my adopted sister literally was raised in a castle in a tower in isolation for 18 years, telling her the whole world is bad. And she's still nice? And then I have, like, more, like, specific notes, like, season per season. So, like, season 1, we have a hard time. Cass has a hard time trusting people, didn't want Rapunzel to tell Eugene about her hair coming back or how it came back in fear of losing her job. She trusts Rapunzel, but not Eugene. I already kind of talked about that earlier. Rapunzel almost ruined Cass's chance at catching Andrew in under wraps when she said she had things under control, but Rapunzel wouldn't leave it. I kind of mentioned both of these earlier. The king found out about how Rapunzel got her hair back and sends Cass to a covenant, but then she redeems herself by taking her dad's spot while he is hurt and leading the guards into a fight. So, like I said, dad finds out, Cassandra loses her job, Cassandra fights and gets her job back. Season 2, Cass tries to get Rapunzel to leave Adira after being suspicious of her and all the information she knows and just appears to know everything. And how it's oddly suspicious how Adira, like, literally will pop up anytime they are in trouble. Why is it like that? If that's not suspicious, I don't know what is. In the May season finale, we see Rapunzel going against what Cass is telling her and makes her own choice, not even taking into account what she said and saying that when Rapunzel becomes queen, there will be decisions she makes that Cass won't be happy with, and that just furthers the rift between them. And so that is something Rapunzel says as like the kind of makeup in the mid-season finale in season 2, where Rapunzel, like, agrees with something Adira says. I think Adira wants him to, like, stay and, like, rest, and, like, Cassandra's like, "We have to keep going or they will catch up." And Rapunzel, like, they kind of, like, have a fight, and then Eugene talks to Rapunzel, and, like, then Rapunzel goes and talks to Cassandra, and then she tells Cassandra, "When I'm queen, I'm gonna make decisions you're not gonna like." And that's just something that's just gonna have to happen. Like, you can't appease everyone. You can't appease everyone. Kind of like how Barry, like Rapunzel, like, even though she promised she would help him, she had to help Corona first and foremost because it's a majority over the minority, unfortunately. Um, so like that when they kind of make up in that moment, and like when I say the rift only furthers between them, I kind of mean that like when Rapunzel does that dark incantation again and she wasn't listening to Cass. That's kind of like when the rift furthers. Even though they made up after Cassandra accidentally sets Rapunzel's memory to before she got out of the tower, the rift was already too far for any possible redemption to break through. So that's kind of, I don't agree with what I said. So in this episode where we see Rapunzel or Cassandra says like, "I wish something," as she's holding a magical wand. And because Rapunzel's pushing and pushing and pushing for Cassandra to open up about her feelings, as if Cassandra has been blatantly open about how she's not open about her feelings. And Rapunzel just won't leave it. And so then Cassandra accidentally uses his wand and is like, "I wish something." And we see Rapunzel's memory goes back to day one, and how we kind of see these like parallel moments where like, "This is the best day ever," as she's like swinging around on the tree and like, "Smell the grass, the dirt, da 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 da." I don't know how the whole songs go, but I just remember that one line. Um, but we see those moments where like or Rapunzel has those parallels with now Cassandra, and then I could see how like this is the episode where like, oh yeah, we ship Rapunzel with Cassandra. Like I could see that, but like even before like learning that Cassandra was Mother Gothel's daughter, they're essentially sisters. Like we knew they were sisters before we actually learned that they were sisters. Why are we shipping them together? And so like after Rapunzel gets her memories back, we see then finally have a talk about what happened at the tree and how Cassandra finally opened up about how she was feeling after that happened. And what's it called? Oh my god, I'm blanking. How Cassandra says, I'm still mad at you, but I'll get over it eventually. It's like, ah, stop! My heart. And then there are warning signs that Cassandra might be the one that betrays Rapunzel, but the princess ignored the signs, choosing to believe her friend would never betray her. And then she does. In the finale, Cass says, I tried to warn you, Rapunzel, you have to be careful who you trust. Warning her! I had to kind of like, I had to rewatch, like, now that I know, like, how Cass became evil, I kind of want to rewatch the show and, um, kind of pick up on like more tells. Like I want to pick up on like when when Cassandra said this. Because I don't remember her saying this other than like when she literally told Rapunzel in the finale. Be careful who you trust. And then in season 3, Cass sees a past in the first episode where her mother abandoned her to take Rapunzel, where the big bad puts words into her head saying she'll always come second best to Rapunzel. Lets her hatred for Rapunzel shine through so she could control the black rocks. Emotion controls power, or power is controlled by emotion. That's what I meant. Like in Once Upon a Time. We see throughout the beginning of the season that Cass has these moments of weakness, seeing any glimpse of Rapunzel that makes her question turning on her once friend. In the mid-season finale, we see Cass return to Corona to get the scroll that will help her ignite the third incantation, leading her to fight with Rapunzel, and ignite the fourth incantation, leading to the big bad regaining her initial form. Cass and Rapunzel seem to make up, but the rift only grows when. So this is a tale of his two sisters. Cass and Rapunzel seem to make up, but the rift only grows when Cassandra thinks Rapunzel betrayed her by hiding the one happy memory she had with her mother. Cass comes back to Corona to make amends with Rapunzel after learning she was being manipulated, but then thanks to the big bad, her presence is made known and makes the right more evident and puts her plans into motion by Cass kicking out the entirety of Corona. A lot of these I already said earlier. I'm just like, because I had like a big paragraph of what I wanted to talk about, and then I took like sub notes of like what each season was kind of about. Um, and then I have like a little like extra section. Cassandra being upset with Rapunzel for being chosen by Gothel over her and not seeing the vain and selfish person Gothel is. Literally. Bro, you knew the trauma Rapunzel went through. You knew the trauma Rapunzel went through. And yet you're blaming her for something she has no control over. Talk to the hand, girlfriend. They both had villain arcs involving them turning. Oh no, so they both meaning Varian and Cassandra. They both had villain arcs involving them turning against Rapunzel due to feeling unappreciated by her. Though they start small in their misdeeds, Varian only stealing the Sundrop flower to save his father but endanger the whole kingdom, and Cassandra only leaving after taking the Moonstone but endanger the whole world. Certain further events push them further into villainy, accumulating in them posing a threat to the kingdom of Corona as a whole and attempting to kill Rapunzel. And then the thing I like about Rapunzel and Cass is how Cass kept Rapunzel accountable with her going into things blindly and her actions having consequences. And I feel like that's something Rapunzel kind of lost in like season 3. Like her character was like, even though she was like annoyingly positive and like blindly going into everything, she still had Cass by her side, and Cass still held her accountable for the first 2 seasons. And in the entirety of season 3, I have to save my friend Cass. Why are you cleaning out her room? Like we have to keep it there. That way when she comes back, she can have her room. And then like where was this Rapunzel when Varian was becoming evil? Where was this Rapunzel when Varian was becoming evil? What are we doing? What are we doing? And so, like, with Cassandra not by Rapunzel's side, we see Rapunzel become more blindly optimistic, where it's killing her character. Like, season 1 Rapunzel was fine. Season 2 was kind of getting on my nerves. And then season 3 is like, what are, like, this is like, you're telling me season 3 Rapunzel is the same Rapunzel as season 1 and the same Rapunzel as the movie. Um, bring Oh, because I told myself to bring up Andrew and Cass and how the Rapunzel wouldn't let their relationship be. I already talked about that. They could have made Cass's villain arc based off of her being tired of coming second best to Rapunzel instead of her blaming Gothel abandoning her to gain Rapunzel. Um, yeah. They had one more thing to say. Throughout season 2, we see cracks between Cass and Rapunzel's friendship, especially with Adira coming in and unintentionally splitting the two friends. Rapunzel trusts and listens to Cass less and less, but the certified crack that furthered their friendship was Cass burning her arm when Rapunzel wouldn't listen with the incantation. I do agree on that this is from a comment from a YouTube video. So I kind of like agreed on some of their opinions, but I also like disagreed with some of their opinions. I do agree on that they brushed too quickly about Cass being evil and going back to Corona. So how, like I said, in the season 3 premiere, we see the first episode split into two parts. We see them still the Dark Kingdom, and like Cass and Rapunzel sing this song about how they listen to each other, but they don't listen to each other. And so then after that first half of the first episode, Cass leaves and then they leave to Corona. And then the second half is them going back to Corona and them seeing that Varian has overthrown the kingdom with Andrew and a bunch of other people. And I feel like the first episode should have been solely focused on like the Dark Kingdom and like Cassandra's betrayal and all that. And then the first episode should have ended with them going back to Corona, not midway through the first episode. I hated how the season 3 premiere episode 1 was split into two arcs. I feel the first episode should have been solely focused on trying to get Cass back, and at the end of the episode is when the mime guy should have come in, not mid-episode. The mime guy is from the movie. Yeah. So I feel like this episode of like, my Tangled series on here isn't why I think Rapunzel's a villain. It's why I think they both could be the villain. Like I could see both sides of the coin where like they are the villain, but Rapunzel just handles herself better, whereas Cassandra is more reactive. And yeah. But if you guys agree with what I said, anything I said, let me know in the comments. If you guys disagree with something I said or disagree with the thumbnail or not the thumbnail, the title, let me know in the comments. Like I really want to discuss Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure with you guys. And I am looking forward to this next episode in the series, which means I have to rewatch Tangled, and I'm so excited to rewatch Tangled. Yeah. Hopefully I can finish my Tangled series this month, and then I can start my Winx Club series next month. I'm also watching the show right now, like the first 8 seasons before the reboot came into play. I have thoughts on that I really want to share, but I'll save that for April. I'm currently on season 6. I just started season 6 of of Winx Club, and let's just say I'm starting to see the rift between Musa and Ribbon. I'm not ready for their breakup. All right, so if you like this type of content, I have my part 1 to this episode, and then I have my watch me fangirl over the show episode. If you like this channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you want to see more Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure or more niche references, I'm also thinking about doing book series on here too. Just let me know. My current read is Half His Age, but I read the first chapter and I feel like it's a little explicit, so I don't know if I'm going to discuss this one on here. But I have other books I would love to discuss with you guys. I have really big plans for the channel in 2026. I really want to hit 200 subscribers this year. Like that's my goal. Yeah. Like this video, give it a thumbs up. I already see someone did that in while I was live. Woo! That's where it is in the while I'm live. It's over here. Um, yeah. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next episode of the series where I will have watched the movie. And I will also have watched Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph Breaks the Internet because I watched the first movie last month, and I feel like I should watch the second movie to also get a gauge of how Rapunzel is in that movie. Like it's not important. It's not like canon to Rapunzel, but I feel like I should watch that too. Yeah. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Oh wait, they moved the button. Normally the end stream button's down at the bottom, but they did an update for YouTube Live. So they moved it.